I decided to look at NotebookLM a few days ago because I just wanted to see how it would take information and turn it into an audio production. That's only one of like 3 or 4 things it can do because people were saying, oh, well, now we can use this to make a podcast. I get a little concerned about this. Just this idea that, oh, well, here's another AI tool that can just do this for us. I will say that at the same time, I wasn't trying to just completely dismiss it, and just say, oh, that's crap. I wanted to give it a try. So what I did was I took a LinkedIn newsletter, one of my LinkedIn newsletters about how much SEO has changed, and it had a lot of references in there. I had links to everyone from Rand Fishkin to many other people who have been talking about changes. You take maybe a blog or you take a document and you import it, and then it turns it into all these other types of resources. It almost repurposes it in a way. And one of the things it'll do is it'll create a conversation, audio conversation that sounds like a couple people talking. And that's why people are saying, oh, well, we can just take this and turn it into a podcast because that's what this sounds like. And it does sound like that. And what I did is I actually tried it 2 different ways. I just imported the article by itself to see what the conversation would sound like. And then I not only put in the article, but I went ahead and got the things that I linked to just to provide more depth. So I'd say, now don't look at just this. Here's the article, here's the content from Rand, and here's the content from Sarah Parker, and all the people, and all that content that I linked to. Just so, maybe the conversation could go a little deeper. And I will tell you up front, it went a little deeper, but it still didn't really erase some of the challenges that I think come with this. So here's a clip of the type of conversation it generated, and you can see the whole conversation. I've got it linked on YouTube. But here's a clip of it just to give you a sense as to what you hear after you put that information into NotebookLM.
All right, so are you ready to really dig into content marketing? Because today we're going way past the usual SEO stuff,
Yeah, we're going deep.
We've got insights from some seriously big names. Rand Fishkin, he's practically the SEO godfather.
Right.
And Scott Murray, Mark Schaefer, and Sarah Parker. She's like the queen of conversion copywriting.
It's interesting, though, how they all seem to be kind of challenging that old school idea that SEO is the be-all and end-all.
Yeah, right.
Like we're talking going way beyond those outdated SEO playbooks to really uncover what actually makes content work in 2024, to really cut through and connect.
It's like you've been doing karate your whole life, and then suddenly someone's like, ooh, those moves, totally wrong.
All right. So, really, you have to give the program credit. It does sound like a couple of people talking in a conversation like you might hear in a podcast. But there's some other things that stand out to me, too, that make you really second guess whether you should just take this and run on the podcast front. It leaves information out. It actually leaves some information out because I went back over it and I said, well, why didn't it talk about this? Why didn't it talk about that? So I don't even know if it really works in that sense. And I don't really know up front right now what more I would have to do for it to, include all the information I would want the reader to have. The last thing I want is to do all this work and then provide another option that only gives you part context of what the article or the blog or the newsletter is about. There's a lot of word repetition in this thing.
All right, so are you ready to really dig into content marketing? She's like the queen of conversion copywriting.
Like we're talking going way beyond those outdated SEO playbooks.
It's like you've been doing karate your whole life, and then suddenly someone's like, ooh, those moves, totally wrong.
It's crucial because clinging to those tired SEO tactics is and honestly, it's actually kind of risky to put all your eggs in that basket these days. And it's you can have amazing SEO.
So instead of going crazy, how do we actually inject that more human element? What do we then do with all that juicy intel?
Trying to game the system, going beyond your typical keyword research, really dig into stuff.
They're showing empathy. It's people don't buy what you do.
Especially for audiences that are problem aware.
Instead of we've got the magic solution up here.
Your reader might have to kind of mitigate the risk for them.
It's like taking your copy to a writing boot camp. What about the visuals?
The flow, where the headings, the subheadings, or their bullet points.
Copywriting and the design really have to get married.
Exactly. You are super vulnerable.
Exactly.
Exactly. Nobody can hear you.
Exactly.
Exactly. Exactly. And this is where testing comes in. Exactly. 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 No one remembers that. Exactly. And that's where those pesky SEO keywords, exactly,
Yeah.
make it easy to read. Exactly. You have
Yeah.
to get in their heads. Yes. Exactly. Oh, totally. 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 So testing is key.
Right. Totally. Ooh, I like that.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. Yeah.
I love that.
And by the way, there are people who, repeat words all the time, including that, You ever listen to a podcast and, they say, a lot, I tend to say a lot of the same phrases when I'm on a podcast, and I'm trying to work on that. I'll try to say, stop myself from saying, what's interesting is, that's one of my favorite phrases. But anyway, I can't figure out if these are two knowledgeable people that are sharing this insight because they already know a lot, or if they're two noobs that are just learning everything for the first time. At one point in time, it sounds like they're both knowledgeable. And then the next phase of the conversation, it's like, oh, we're learning this very simple thing for the first time. And it's really kind of bizarre because I couldn't decide which one they were. And I think you would kind of want to know that. Are these two experts? Are these two noobs like maybe a listener might be? And we're all learning it for the first time. And, really, the other thing that stands out to me is, let's say this becomes one of the shiny new things in podcasting, right? If that happens, what are we going to get out of this? More repetition. We're going to get more of a lot of things that sound alike. Because if more and more companies start taking this on, you're not only going to be going into the podcast realm looking for podcasts and trying to figure out, good gracious, there's a lot of these things, and trying to figure out, what you're going to try out. But, not only will all those sound alike, but now we're going to have two hosts that are all over the internet, all over the podcast sphere, on different people's podcasts, talking the exact same way, using the exact terminology and the exact words and phrases as they discuss this over here as they talk about, I don't know, Star Wars, and then they're over here talking about taxes or education in this area. So I think there are many reasons why this isn't a good idea for podcasts. I mean, one of the first things I wanted to do was figure out how can I change their voices so people don't feel like they hear these people all the time in case suddenly they are hearing this audio content a lot. And I did find some really good resources. I already had kind of an idea how I could change their voice, and I saw some people on YouTube explaining how you could take it and edit it like you should, almost like a podcast. You shouldn't just take what it is and just call it good, even though a lot of people still do that. And then the extra steps it would take to change their voices. And that left me thinking, after you've done all that work, is it really worth it? Have you really simplified the process at that point? Because I think if you're going to put that much work into it, you might as well put quality work into a podcast.